for tuning into Culture Fix today. I am joined by multi-talented artist, musician, songwriter, Kat Von D. Kat released her debut studio album, Love Made Me Do It, back in 2021, a dark slice of cinematic synth pop that featured the singles Exorcism and Fear You, amongst others. Kat has given us a taste of her next studio album with the brooding dance-flavoured Vampire Love, and you are here to talk to me about it today. So thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thank you.
And this is personally like a real fanboy moment for me because I'm actually sitting with, the album here.
Oh my gosh. You just made my day right now.
I was such a fan, and I think the sound of the new music, it sounds slightly different, but it's kind of still ticking all those boxes. So I'm really excited to
Oh,
chat to you
awesome.
about
Oh, thank you.
it. So let's jump in and think about Vampire Love.
Yeah.
So Shep Solomon, Fernando Garibay, really cool producers involved in this as well. What
Yeah.
was the kind of creative influence behind the track?
Well, I think both Shep and Fernando are used to working with pop stars and just I don't know, making pop music, which is super cool. And I think when they got word of like the project that I wanted to create and a little bit more of a darker spin on pop music, a lot of synth, heavy synth sounds, I think they got excited because obviously it's very nostalgic for them from the era that they come from as well. So that was exciting. As far as Vampire Love, that song, we wanted to create, kind of like a goth disco anthem, which is a very niche genre, of course. But we love like groovy bass lines and yeah, I think we were able to still um stay true to the, I guess, like the more darker, sinister sound, but still make something that makes you want to get up and dance.
Yeah, and I think there's real moments of that kind of it's very dark, it's very kind of sinister, but it's very groovy, it's very danceable.
Thank you.
You definitely can hit that mark. Um,
Thanks.
with the kind of the next album, I'm guessing this is kind of the lead single. Is it taking a sort of dancier vibe?
Yeah, I mean, I think this next album is going to be a little bit more hard hitting than the first one. I think the first one, was really about this, star-crossed lovers type scenario. So there was a lot of slow, melancholy songs, which I still love, a good slow burn. We have maybe one slow song on this album, and the rest is pretty upbeat. But I really wanted to push myself vocally and just be a little more aggressive. Vampire Love is actually one of the more mellower songs on the album, so I think people will be in for a treat.
You we spoke a little bit about the idea of crafting a sort of goth disco. When you
Yeah.
are writing the song, are you picturing the kind of the visuals of that as well? Because obviously, you're a very kind of visual artist also. So when you're writing,
Yeah.
do you have the sort of cinematic vision in mind?
Yeah, it's interesting that like a lot of the songs on this album kind of gave birth to the ideas of the music videos as we were writing them. Vampire Love in particular, I was like, oh, it would be so cool to do a costume party type scenario. But originally, I thought it was going to be at a roller skating rink. But I'm so happy with the way that the music video played out. It was the first time where we played supporting characters. My band, we're usually part of the storyline, and in this case we were just the band playing, witnessing a love story happening, so that was exciting for us.
Fantastic. So let's kind of think about the sort of the kind of the genre, the horror genre, because I know obviously vampires are so connected with romance and love, but also kind of horror.
Yeah.
Is horror a genre that's kind of fed into your visions for your music?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of horror movies in general. I mean, I feel like my first album, obviously the single Exorcism, was inspired by all the Exorcist movies that I watched. Like just being so desperate to find something that lasts forever. And I just use the vampire analogy. But we weren't trying to be too on the nose as far as, obviously, like, we dress like vampires, but
Yeah.
in reality, it was just more, it's more true love, a love song. But yeah, I think when I teamed up with the director Ryan Valdez, he's known for his horror movies. He like actually just does like super dark, really creepy, spooky stuff, which I love.
Yeah.
But also manages to make things very romantic and kind of dreamlike. And
Mhm.
that's what I like. So even when I was first pitching him the idea for the music video, I'm like, I don't know if if it's too soft for him. I think he's
Yeah.
used to doing like things that make you scream or have nightmares. And so I was so happy when he was on board. But yeah, I think as far as the rest of the album, I have a few collabs on it that we haven't announced yet. We're not going to announce until we get closer to the release, but that are, a little more heavy hitting. But I like to see the juxtaposition of that. I have like a few metal singers, but we're, singing something that's a little more melodramatic and less
Yeah.
like, crunchy guitars or anything like that.
Yeah, it sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I know things are obviously subject to change. Do you have a kind of rough release date in mind, or you kind of want to keep?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to release about three more singles that we have music videos for, and so we're going to start doing that in January. So January, February, March. March we'll release the final single along with the rest of the album. So in the spring we'll have released the album, and then we're hoping to start touring in the summer.
Exciting. So obviously, like Love Made Me Do It was kind of just at the tail end of the pandemic, and I'm not sure. Did you manage to get in any live dates to promote that, or was it kind of still quite, closed off?
Yeah, you know we were able to play like a mini West Coast tour, which was so much fun. And then we had our tour date set for Europe, and then all the stuff in Ukraine was happening, and there was just so much uncertainty. And so my management was just like, let's just not risk right at this point going out to see what happens. And so we don't mind waiting. And now and in the meantime, I ended up writing an album that I'm so even more excited to play live.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a actual true blessing.
Yeah, and I suppose the nice thing is that when you do make it to Europe, you will have like, two albums worth of music to kind of pull from, and
Yeah, exactly.
you'll have given kind of fans a chance to figure out which songs that they want to hear and maybe
Yeah,
pass on to you. So it's exciting.
yeah, definitely.
It's funny because when I was listening to the album again today, in my mind, it just came out a few months ago. Like it feels so fresh. Do you now look back on it
Thank you.
slightly differently 2 years on, or how do you look back on it? Is it a
Um,
nostalgic feeling or quite a strange one?
no, I mean, I think I'm my own worst critic, so obviously I'm kind of breaking myself down like what I can do better, and that's what I always do with everything, whether it's a tattoo, whether it's a drawing, whether it's a design or a song. And so I'm excited to share the new album because, like I said, I really pushed myself vocally, and I've worked really hard with my vocal trainer, um and I also worked with songwriters that were really pushing me as well. So I think that's very exciting for me, and we were writing more with the intentions of playing them live versus the first album I just wrote because I had something in my heart that I wanted to get out, and it wasn't really about playing live, even though the songs will be fun to play live. But so yeah, I think I tend to be critical of myself, but it's not really nostalgic for me. I'm really proud of the production, especially. I love, as you know, like I love the 80s, love wave. So I feel like that first album was very I'm still very proud of it.
Um, Thinking back to when you first started in the world of music, what was that kind of feeling? Because obviously you'd established yourself as an artist, and you were kind of well known before people maybe associated you with the music. So was it quite strange the
Yeah.
feeling of potentially being prejudged by people before you'd even put music out?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's pros and cons of having an existing established career. You have a built-in fan base, obviously that's good versus somebody who's just jumping in from scratch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me, I think the cons is that people don't like change. And I think a lot of people sadly believe that you can only be in one lane for the rest of your life. And I've never felt that. I've always looked at people like Salvador Dali who were good at everything from painting to poetry to architecture, jewelry design. He even had a makeup line at one point.
Amazing.
And yeah, and so I feel like we can't be limited just by one medium. I mean, if you want to, you can, but I certainly am not satisfied with just one thing. So yeah, I think there was a lot of people that were like, "Oh, is this just a brand? Are you just creating music and putting your name on it?" And because there's unfortunately, I think a lot of celebrities that do that. They just put something out, they auto tune everything, and they have somebody else write their music and produce it. And And I think just my musical background would never allow that type of processing personally, just for me.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind working harder and proving people wrong. I've never had a problem doing that.
And it's funny because I think you've made such an important point there. A lot of the time, you look at the songwriting credits for a song and there's maybe like 16, 17 writers, and you think,
Yeah,
this has not come from the artist. It feels
yeah,
a bit inauthentic. So it's so important. And I think the audience can pick up on that as well.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think so too.
so let's think about your writing process. Are you someone that kind of is quite introverted with it, or do you prefer that kind of collaborative approach? What's your style?
Yeah, so I love the songwriting process. I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and my strengths would be, in production. I love sound design. So everything that, all the sounds that you hear, none of them are programmed. Like
Yeah.
we're artfully like molding all of those sounds together. And but I think where I fall extremely short, and it's something that I want to get better as the time goes on, is just my top line melodies. I have a really hard time knowing where my starting point will be. And so that's why when I work with people like Shep, who's such a brilliant top line melody writer, he can listen to a chord progression that I find that I like and instantly just starts finding these,
Yeah.
compatible melodies that just never. So it's almost like a puzzle piece for me. I think having that collaborative experience helps me kind of compose it in a way that feels right. But as far as the concepts, the lyrics, titles, all that stuff, like I'm writing it as well. I think I'd feel weird if somebody just wrote an entire song and I didn't have any involvement.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's understandable. Um,
Yeah.
so life in LA, let's think more generally about that because obviously, I mean, I visited for the first time this summer and it's a full-on place. There's so much going
Yeah.
on. It's like sensory overload and it makes the UK
Mhm.
seem very quiet. How do you keep yourself grounded in such a busy, bustling place where there's so many people trying to make it, trying to get their kind of piece of the pie?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we just recently moved out of Los Angeles. Like, I
Okay.
found 14 acres of land in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a state called Indiana, which you probably are not familiar with. But and and I fly out to Los Angeles about once a month just for work stuff, and that's why I'm staying over at Charo's house, and you can see all her colorful, beautiful backdrop. It's very Charo. And so I kind of I'm lucky that I get to have the best of both worlds because I'm with you. I think that living in the traffic here and just the you just get like the barrage of uh just voices and visuals always constantly thrown at you. I think a younger me was maybe fascinated by that and could stand it, and now I really yearn for nature and a quiet setting, and so that's what Indiana does for me, and I'm able to. I'm much more happier in the forest than I am in the concrete jungle.
And I guess the sort of the quiet and sometimes it's quite nice in terms of your sort of creative process to kind of step back and actually think
Yeah,
about, yourself as a person and without the distractions.
yeah, but at the same, you're a drive away from your producer or whoever. If you need to, find somebody that plays a theremin or something, like you just have your pick of that. Whereas in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't be able to track vocals where I'm at right now. Well, I don't have a
Yeah.
studio out there yet, but eventually we will.
Um, let's think back to your whole career from the music to your tattoo work to your art, all these things. What is it that you're the most proud of? That's a very difficult question.
um, I think my music is what I'm the most passionate about out of all of the mediums. I'll always be a tattooer. I will always draw and I will always write and things like that. But as far as I think a lot of people don't know that music has always been my first and foremost favorite creative outlet. I started playing the piano when I was 5 years old. I was classically trained, and so that's always been my go-to and the easiest place for me to channel any kind of idea through. So I think I'm the most proud of that. Another, I guess, a less exciting answer would be like I'm just proud to be my husband's wife and my son's mother.
That's a
I know
wholesome
that's kind of
answer.
like, yeah, it's cliche, but it is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm not the type of person that's ever going to write about like being a mom or anything, that like those topics have never inspired me for songs.
Yeah.
But I will say that like my son has definitely played a part in inspiring things like Vampire Love. Like when you look at the music video and you see like all the me and my bandmates are dressed as skeletons and we have like these cat suits with hand painted skeletons on them. That's just because that's my son's favorite outfit. He has like a
Yeah.
skeleton pajama. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to pay my son a little homage.
How does your son feel? Is he quite proud of it, or does he kind of is he at the stage where he gets a little bit embarrassed that his mom's up there, or how does he handle it?
Oh no, I think he thinks it's the coolest thing ever, but I also don't think that he understands what it is that him and his mom and dad do. Like we both, he'll see us on stage and performing, but he's still, we're not really trying to program him to have, I guess, just this idea of celebrity. That's something that turns us off. So, we won't be like pushing him to try and be something that for the sake of status, but we definitely will nurture any artistic, like if he wants to be a musician, I'll give him as many instruments as he wants and lessons. But I don't think he has like an idea, like when we go out and people ask to take pictures with us, he he doesn't really, like, he doesn't know his mom as Kat, you know what I mean? I'm just his mom.
Um,
Yeah.
let's think more generally, because I know you've traveled around the world with your work. What is your kind of experience of the UK and Europe? Do you have any favorite places you visited? Any places you'd like to kind of return to?
Yeah, no, I love Europe and I love the UK. I have so many friends out there. I haven't been there in so long and I can't wait to come back. And one of my favorite bands, Gunship, they're out there as well. And so it would be a dream of mine to one day get to share a stage with them. They mixed my first album and then I sang on one of their songs in the past, but yeah, they've been a heavy influence on us. I think one of my all-time favorite places, like as I told you, I love classical music, and Beethoven is kind of like my biggest hero. And so, going to places like Prague, like I was one of those nerds that went to his apartment and took a picture in front of his apartment. And so, that kind of architecture too is my favorite. So yeah, I think returning to places like that would be cool.
Brilliant. Well, you can base your tour dates on places you want to check out again.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Um,
I have fans in Prague. I don't know.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And we need to kind of give a shout out to Gunship because their remix of Exorcism is really incredible as well. So if people haven't heard it, they need to check that out.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to wrap
Yeah,
up.
or even just their own album. They just keep. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, on you go. Let's give Gunship a shout out.
Oh no, I was just saying. I know that they just came out with a really cool single called Monster in Paradise, and they have like Lombardo playing drums and a bunch of different people on there that are just so cool. I'm a huge fan of their aesthetic and their style, and I feel like they're kind of the pioneers right now with synthwave. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's wrap up with some quick fire questions. First thing
Okay.
that pops into your head, nothing too tricky.
Okay.
What brings you joy?
um, Let me see. Oh my, that's such a hard question. Come on.
I know, like they're easy. Nice.
Okay, well, talking to you is one, but I guess, uh, I think my cats definitely bring me joy. I have like three hairless cats.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Your favorite movie?
I would say The Holy Mountain.
Oh, yes. Jodorowsky.
Yeah. My favorite.
Um, thinking back, you mentioned obviously Salvador Dali. Have you watched Jodorowsky's Dune, the documentary about the kind of unmade version of Dune?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's I just it makes me not want to watch it.
you know,
It's like the greatest movie that was never filmed. Oh, such a good documentary.
absolutely. The last song you listened to,
Hmm. Actually, to be honest, I think it was Monster in Paradise from Gunship. Yeah.
your all-time favorite musician.
Uh, Well, Beethoven obviously is my favorite, but as far as contemporary, I would say my favorite female vocalist is Johnette Napolitano, the singer from Concrete Blonde. But I also love Terry Reid, and he's my favorite voice of all time. And he's from the 70s, and he originally was supposed to be the singer of Led Zeppelin, and he turned it down back in the day. But just epic vocals. Yeah.
What could have been? Would you choose a banger or a ballad?
Wait, say that again?
Would you choose a banger or a ballad?
Oh, probably a ballad.
I mean, I'm looking at the list of questions I've got here, and I'm finishing on quite a deep, morbid one. But what is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. I think I don't know if I have that many fears, to be honest. I mean, obviously I want like my son to be happy and healthy. I think my biggest fear would probably be like I don't know.
Go with sharks or something.
I'm not a scaredy cat. I'm not. I really am. It takes a lot to get me scared.
Brilliant. Well, that's the best answer. No fears.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's been a real pleasure chatting to you.
Oh man, this was so much fun. Thanks for taking the time. And I'm so sorry about my schedule earlier. I was trying to rearrange for traveling, and I'm just so glad we got to talk. You're
absolutely
awesome.
Thank you. So are you.
Right, hope to see you in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely be there at any UK dates, and I'll be buying the album as soon as it's out. So excited to hear that.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
all right, cool. Thanks.
Enjoy your evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.